Afternoon. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay, okay. Give me just a second.
One student in the waiting room, but I was gonna wait till about 10 minutes till you tell me when.
Mm, about, about 2 minutes. Deal.
Okay. How you doing?
I am good. Let me okay, let me try sharing. Let's see. Okay. Take it off of. How y'all doing?
Good. Oh no, Evans. It looks like he's still trying to connect to the audio.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you can let them in 5 minutes till. That way it gets everybody squared away with the QR code and all the other things.
No, what did we decide? Am I talking about? I'm giving the first few minutes of the whatever.
Yes.
Look at what my
If
notes.
that's how you want to do it. Mm-hmm.
Two so far. Okay. The notes. Okay. Want to remind them. PB friends and classmates. Miss Corley said she might not make it. She had a last minute thing.
Okay.
Can you think of anything else I was supposed to remind them of?
What do you have so far?
Um, cameras on if possible, check-in survey, weekly reflections questionnaire, and inviting their friends and classmates to join Ignite, and also sharing it on their social media platforms and with their organization.
Anything upcoming dealing with Ignite? Any announcements?
Yeah, next week's. Okay, so next week's topic is, we can put that on the last one, next week's topic. Being basics of communication. Um, let's see, we will be adding two special topic presentations Thursdays, date and time to determine, and financial literacy and business maybe sent out as a video. Maybe sent video.
Did you see the post Anastasia made?
I did, yeah, for further discussion. 4 minutes till. Let me bring the people's in.
I'm gonna stay off camera so you can make your announcements and stuff.
You gonna stay off camera till I do that?
Yeah. So I won't be forced to. Because you're the first voice they need to hear, right?
Good afternoon, all have joined us. Thank you. If you'll go ahead and use the QR code on the screen to check in. Remember, checking in is important for you to get credit for the attendance. If the QR code is not working, I've also put the link in the chat. Thank you. We will be starting in about 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for those having your camera on.
Good afternoon.
We'll be on shortly.
Again, good afternoon, all. If you'll go ahead and scan the QR code, check in, or if the QR code is not working for you, using the link in the chat. Oh, while you're waiting, if you guys will put in the chat your name, your major, where you're actually located doing your interning. We're hoping to provide you guys with some opportunities, maybe to fellowship if you're in the same location as some of the other students. Got several coming in, so give us a moment.
Erica, please be quiet. You see how you being extra? You're on mic.
Yes, you are, dear. All right. I have 1 o'clock. I know people are still coming in, but we are going to be mindful of your time. Also wanting to set examples on how you should conduct yourselves in the business environment. So if you have a meeting that you've called, please make sure that you have everything together to have those meetings to start on time. I apologize. I thought I turned my camera on. Here I am. Hi, I'm Michelle Jones. I am the program manager for Ignite and the internships, cooperative education, and experiential education programs. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to drop in for us, about an hour session. Just a few little beginning or housekeeping things. We're asking that please, if you are able to have your cameras on. This allows us to engage, to feel the energy from you via the video camera. And it also allows you to kind of share in, again, the excitement that's going to be going around the virtual room. Remember to check in. So we've got the survey code up. I will be dropping the link in the chat periodically in case the survey code is not working. And excuse me, the check-in code is not working. Don't forget that you need to complete the post-session survey. That's another one of the requirements that allow you to get submitted in for your incentives. And then I have sent the weekly reflections questionnaire off. I emailed it to everybody who was registered as of yesterday in the system. I sent that out to you guys as personal emails or whatever email you included in your registration. So be on the lookout for that questionnaire. The questionnaire helps us in, again, preparing, engaging, and thinking of what kind of information we need to share. Sometimes the things that you're posting triggers, oh, that's a thought or conversation that we may need to have. So that information really does help us engaging how to address things over the summer, as well as preparing for different programming for you guys in the fall and the spring, and of course, falling into next summer. We're asking that you share about Ignite. I send you guys emails all the time, and I don't mind sending you and I will send you the email with the invite information. Share that with your friends and your classmates. Share it with the organizations that you're a member of. Have them to drop it in the group me. Post it on your social media platforms. I will put like a recommended piece of information in the chat before the presentation is over with. But share it everywhere that you can, especially if you are feeling the value from what we're offering. Last couple things. So our next week, this is the last session for this week's topic, professionalism and presence. And our topic on Monday, starting off is, next week's topic is mastering the basics of communication. And that will start on Monday, June 9th. We've had a number of requests for some topics, special topic presentations on financial literacy and business and dining etiquette. So we will be providing some details on that. More than likely, that'll just be special sessions that you guys can attend, and they'll be offered on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that information. And that is all I have. I will turn it over to our wonderful, magnanimous, phenomenal presenter, Coach Lynn George. Take it away.
Thank you, Miss Michelle Jones. Welcome, everyone. If you haven't already, I want you to put your name, your major, where you're from, I'm sorry, where are you interning if you are an intern, or where are you from? Put it in the chat for us if you haven't already, because this is a start of really cultivating a community. When we're talking about building relationships, it starts with your peers, because no matter, you may be on an internship in Dallas and you may be hearing some things, right? And you come back to PV campus and bring that information back and network with your peers. So put in the chat your name, your major, where are you from, or where are you interning? Put it in the chat for me. We're going to go ahead and get started. So as you're doing that, my name is Lynn George, and I am a career coach here, and I support students in the College of Business, majoring in management as well as management information systems. Throughout the training, in today's presentation, you will know about the other coaches. So if I am not your coach, just know that you do have a coach to support your growth and professional development. So listen, we're talking today. We're having a conversation today, right? It's Saturday. Happy Saturday if I haven't said that already. Um, just know that what shaped my work is what is walking with students through moments of not knowing, right? And so, as we step into this work, as we step into this presentation today, professionalism and presence, we're going to talk a lot about what that means to you, what that means in the workplace, and then how do we move forward and grow as a professional, and how do we embody the presence, right, that calls forth the leader that you are, as well as attract opportunities to you. I want to start out by saying this, that growth is internal before it is reflected outwardly. I'm going to say it again. Growth is internal before it is reflected outwardly. So let me ask you this question. How do people experience you before you even say a word? Now, that's a rhetorical question. So as we're, starting this conversation around professionalism and presence, I really want you to think about that question. How do people experience you before you even say a word? Because whether or not we realize it, we're always communicating something, right? The way we walk into a room, the way we respond to feedback, even how we show up on our first Zoom call, that is presence. And so your presence can either open doors or they can close them. So this conversation, though, I want you to make no mistake about it. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment, about learning to show up in a way that reflects both who you are and the kind of leader that you are becoming, right? And so let's open this up of what professionalism means, because I know you've heard conversations, people say be professional, and you have to really pivot in the moment of what that actually means, right? So let's talk about that even a little bit more. Have you ever felt like you had to shrink, code switch, or guess the right way to show up in a room, in a professional setting? Put one for yes in the comments or two for no, not really. Have you ever had to show up? Have you ever had to uh, shrink, code switch, or guess the right way. It's a little nerve-wracking, right? How do I need to be? Who should I show up as today? Or what should I show up as in this meeting, right? Professionalism isn't about changing who you are. I want that to be clear. It's not about changing who you are. It's about channeling who you are with intention. I'm going to say that again. Professionalism isn't about changing who you are. It's about channeling, becoming more of who you are with intention. Just like you have to read the room, recognize the room that you're in, right? That's what that means. Recognize the room, the space that you're in, and then channeling who you are to show up in that room, in that space. Presence is how you communicate your value without saying a word. And so when presence aligns with confidence, competence, clarity, you become unforgettable. So let's talk about how you show up with excellence and authenticity. So what does professionalism means to you? Ms. Michelle is going to bring up a poll, and we want you to answer that poll by indicating a single choice. What does professionalism means to you? We're going to give you about 30 seconds to make a decision, to make a choice. What does professionalism means to you? All right. Let's show the results. What are you all thinking right now? What does professionalism mean to you? All right. We had a couple of people that says being respectful and using good communication. But then most of you, 96% of you believe that it's dressing appropriately, it's showing up on time, it's being respectful and using good communication, taking ownership of your responsibility. Here's the idea. Professionalism means different things in different environments. So what I want to do in the next few moments is really explore and be on one accord about what professionalism means. So here is our working definition for today. Professionalism means that you show up in a way that's respectful, responsible, and ready to grow. Remember the 3 R's: respectful, responsible, and ready to grow. It's how, professionalism and presence, it's about how you act, you communicate, how you carry yourself, whether you're in the classroom, on campus, in an internship, or the job. And so how does that look in action? Put it in the chat for me. I'm going to give you some examples. Being on time, being prepared, right? When you get to class, you're prepared, ready for the lesson of the day. Or you're on an internship, right? Or you're on the job, wherever you are on time and you're prepared. You're following through on what you say you will do. You're speaking and writing respectfully, right? You're taking responsibility. You're showing respect. What else does that look like in action? When we're talking about showing up in a respectful, responsible, in a way that's showing that you're ready to grow, or you are in a position where you're ready to grow. Someone says dress is important. Absolutely. What I also want to remind you of is that professionalism isn't about being perfect. It's about being respectful, dependable, and coachable. Are you coachable? Right? Julian, thank you. Being attentive. Emmanuel, thank you. Asking questions and taking notes. Absolutely. Yes, we're going to talk about these things. So so now that we understand what professionalism is, right? Then how do we begin to be intentional about who we are so that we can show up so that our presence is known, right? Yes, not being me early is on time. Absolutely. Here's another thing I want you to always remember. You're always branding. So when we say that your presence is who you are, is showing up, regardless if you say anything or not, this means that you're always branding. And we're going to talk about personal branding in just a moment. You're always branding, even when you are silent. Even when you are silent, you are always branding. Again, how you show up, how you carry yourself, how you receive feedback, the tone in which you speak, all says something about who you are, all says something about your presence. So here's what we'll cover today. We're going to talk about personal branding. We're going to weave all of these points into our topic of the day, which is professionalism and presence. When it comes to personal branding, who are you when you are not? Who are you when you're not in the room? What are the words that you want associated with who you are? If you're on an internship, when you leave that internship, what do you want them to say about you? We'll talk about that. We'll revisit that in just a moment. Personal branding is about respect. It's not just about, I know some of you are familiar with, we'll talk about this too. If you're building a business, you got to think about your colors and your logos, but that's not what we're talking about here, right? It's how reputation meets impact. Your reputation. And what is the impact that you want to have, right? We're going to talk some about confidence and mental preparation. Do you know what you know? Are you grounded before you show up in a room, before you show up on the job, before you show up on an internship? Are you grounded in what you know? Right? We're going to talk a little bit about, and during some time in the presentations this week, imposter syndrome has come up. When we talk about mental preparation or preparation, this is how we are, really bringing solution around managing imposter syndrome, right? We're going to talk about dressing for success. If you're on an internship, what is the attire? How are people showing up on the job? How are they showing up on the internship? And what does, dress for success mean? It means being aligned with the environment. And then professional presence. Everything that we're talking about has to do with professional presence, which is, are you taking up space with intention? Your body language, your tone, how you manage your energy. Because presence is a skill and you can practice it. So let's start out with talking about brands. So when you see the Nike brand, everybody's familiar with these brands here on the screen. And let's start out with the Nike brand. When you see the Nike brand, put in the chat for me, what comes to mind? Just do it. Yep. Shoes, athleticism, sports. Yep. What else comes to mind? Fitness, comfort, quality, just do it slogan. Yes, absolutely. What about the Apple brand? What comes to mind? Phones, okay. Technology, okay. Innovative, innovation, electronics, yep, high quality. I get that every time I ask that question. Good camera, mm-hmm. iPhone and Android. We not gonna argue about this here. We're not gonna argue about this here. Fast communication, yes. Okay, who recognized the other company's brand down on the bottom corner there? If so, put it in the chat. Superior, Natalie, I'm with you on that. Fenty Beauty, yes. When we think about Fenty Beauty, what do we associate with that? Let's talk behind Rihanna's back now. Yep, we think about Rihanna. What are we saying behind her back? She's not in the room today, but what are we saying about her skincare? What does it give off? Beauty and skincare, yes. Accentuating beauty, yes. Diverse, yes. Inclusivity, yes. Good quality. When you're not in the room, what are people saying about you? When you're not in the room, what are people saying about you? We just talked about Nike, Apple, and Fenty, and they're not in this room. You know how many people, how many households are talking about these different products? What are they saying? So when it comes to personal branding or your personal brand, the word personal indicates that it's about you. So what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? What do you want people to say about how you walk, talk, and carry yourself as a young professional, or about your work quality as we relate it to internships and work? Because the idea of your personal brand is that you want to be intentional about it and strategic about what you want people to say about you. Is that clear? Thumbs up. So while personal branding, someone says you can't tell people what your brand is, you have to show them. Yes, absolutely. While personal branding is about how you show up or the story you want to tell, confidence and mental preparation, right, is about what you know, right? It's about how are you managing the doubts that come in your mind when you show up in rooms and you're the only one, right? Because what there will be times you are at PV, you are in a community that is safe, where a lot of people look like you, and where you probably feel you belong, right? There's this sense of belonging. Yes. Put a yes in the chat for me if you agree. Yes. And with that sense of belonging, there comes a time when we have to step out into the world, right? Maybe your sophomore year, your freshman year, your sophomore, your junior, your senior year, you're stepping into the world of work, whether it be through an internship or work. And you will step in places and spaces where there's not a lot of people that look like you. How will you continue to show up with confidence? And that's what this section is about. How you prepare, how do you build your inner confidence before you walk into those professional spaces? Having a positive regard about who you are means that you still think you still believe that you belong in the room, even when I am the only one. Right? So how do you stay grounded? You ask yourself, are you grounded before you show up? Are you grounded before you show up? This is about mentally preparing. So when we talk about that, let's put that into action. If you're on your internship, you're getting, your manager or whomever, your lead says you're getting ready, it's time for a team meeting. What do you need? How do you prepare to go into that room? Put it in the chat for me. How are you preparing to go into that room? Talk to me. What do you need? Ready? Any materials provided? Yes. Laptop? Absolutely. Research, notebook and pen? Yes. Overviewing the agenda? Come on. Y'all are on it. Yes, a notebook of some sort, confidence, questions, knowing what is about before and ask questions? Absolutely. Right? With a positive, yes. Dressing accordingly, ready to participate? Yes. Bringing in your A game? Absolutely. I love all of these responses because you are on point. Someone said earlier, relatable questions? Absolutely. Absolutely. Active listening? Yes. Because don't worry about what you don't know. When you go on in these meetings, they're not concerned about what you don't know. What they are concerned about is what do you know? What is your perspective? You have wisdom. You have knowledge, right? Ms. Michelle says there is strength in your perspective and your experiences, and that is part of, yes, that's what makes you valuable. When we speak of value, yes. So are you grounded before you show up? Because confidence isn't about having all the answers. That's not what confidence is. It's about believing that you belong in the room. So what do you need mentally to understand that you belong in the room? And then what do you need tangibly? And y'all put it in the chat already, to know that you belong in that room. Now, because you do. Internships aren't about just about skill, it's about mindset. So when things feel unfamiliar, your preparation is your anchor, right? It's your anchor. So think about what's one mental shift that you want to make before your next internship. Internship check-in or the interview. What's one belief you need to own about yourself? What is one belief you need to own about yourself? Let's talk about dress for success. We talked a little bit about it. Y'all put it in there. That's all part of the preparation, right? This is about being in alignment with the environment. How are they dressing? Know beforehand what is the attire of or dress code of your work environment. Know that beforehand. And I also say, dress for not the job you have, but the one you want. Dress for not the one job you have, but for the one you want. This isn't about designer labels. It's about understanding the context in which you are in and the expectations, right? Dress for the job not for the job you have, but the one you want. And this all comes into play when we're talking about presence. Your brand, your how you show up is all about your professional presence. Your presence is your brand in motion. So I'm going to ask you, do you take up space with intention? Your body language, your tone, how you manage your energy. Because remember, presence is a skill that you can practice. If you're intentional about it, you can absolutely practice it. However you want to show up, it is up to you to be conscientious of that and just show up that way. Let me see if there's some questions in the chat. So, because now I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Let's have a discussion. Y'all been mighty quiet. Well, y'all haven't actually. Y'all been in the chat talking. Any questions in the chat, Ms. Jones?
Yeah, we had one student that was saying she struggles with imposter syndrome. And I know we kind of got into that a little bit the other evening, one of the sessions, and thought we could talk a little bit more about it.
Absolutely. Whoever put that in the chat, come talk to me. Y'all, let's have a discussion. I want to stop sharing my screen, but it's okay.
In the chat.
She put in the chat.
Mhm. Tell us what you think that imposter syndrome means. What
Huh?
do you? I was saying, what is she? What do you mean? You
Yes,
struggle
tell me.
with imposter syndrome. What does that mean for you?
It means even when I'm getting these opportunities, I don't even feel that excited because I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm not supposed to be in this space. And then when am going into that space, I just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm around all these amazing people. What am I doing here? And it doesn't matter what I've accomplished. It just, I don't know. Even when I look back at my own resume, which I do sometimes, and I'm like, dang, I actually have done a lot. For some reason, there's still that mental block there.
Yeah,
Mm.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah. And Natalie, that is real. It's real. I'm gonna tell you and be honest with you. I don't necessarily like the word imposter syndrome because it means when you think about imposter syndrome, when you look it up,
Yeah.
it's a sick fraud, right? Like, do you believe that you're a fraud? It means that being, and before you answer that question, a fraud meaning, oh, I'm not who they think I am. And it's just a matter of time before they know that I'm just not that, you fill in the blank. Do you actually believe that yourself?
I guess to a degree, because sometimes it feels like I haven't worked as hard as other people have to get to the same place.
And so this is why this topic is important, why we start out with presence, right? Because it's knowing that if you're in the room, it's because you belong there. You didn't get there because they saw Natalie Novell's name and they said, oh, let me just try her out, right? Natalie worked. Natalie put in effort. Natalie put in the time. And so since Natalie put in the work, the effort, in the time, Natalie opened doors for herself. And so when those doors open and you walked in them, now your presence has to reflect that, you know what, I belong in this room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not only do I
Natalie,
belong in this room, but I'm ready now to grow. And I think the antidote to the belief that you don't belong is understanding that you do not have to have all of the answers. Have you?
Natalie, George, you mind if I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Natalie, why do you feel you have not worked as hard as others? What is that thought?
It's just because I got here a year early, and I've done like I've had the opportunity to do a lot of nice things, a lot of cool things, and to like get into the College of Nursing early, and to do all these things early, and just even when like even like when I took my T's exam, and then I'm prepping to take the LSAT, I just feel like I'm not putting in as much work as other people are. Like even with my prereqs, I feel as though they came so easy to me, and so that makes me feel as though because I see everyone else working so hard, and it just makes me feel like I am not working hard enough, and that I'm still getting what I want. And it just doesn't, something about it makes me feel like I'm just not doing enough, even though I technically am.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Cooper, because that was an excellent question to ask. And if I may, you said something that was key, and that is you, I'm not going to say it verbatim, but you said, I did all these things with not a lot of effort, right? Like you put in the effort, but it came easy for you. That's the word you use. It
Right.
came for you. Here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of there will be some things that come easy for you and don't come easy for others. And I don't know about you, but in my world they call those gifts, right? I have a gift. Everyone in here have a gift. There's something that we do And there are a lot of things that we do that comes with no effort, that to someone else, it
Mm-hmm.
requires more effort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Evans, did you want to add to that, to what she said?
From my analysis and just listening, you could just be, a very intelligent person, and that's it. You could just Michael Jordan. That's just who he is, and that's not saying that you do not deserve. I thought you were coming from a different angle,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, uh, but um, your intelligence, you could just get things very quickly. For example, I have a master's in art. Some people are very artistic and they do things very quickly. And then some people need a certain type of structure, outline. Um, and you may not require all of that. That's just the configuration of your intellectual brain. That's all.
Miss Michelle Jones?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for understand that you are who you are, right? Um, while yes, we look and see what people around us, what our colleagues, what our classmates have and how they're doing some things, don't don't be in the habit of comparing yourself to the others. Understanding maybe why or how they did something, it might help you with it, but don't look and say, oh, well, it was hard for them to get that done, but it was easy for me, so did I really learn it? Can I really do it? Right? Give yourself grace, as Mr. Cooper said, Miss George said. It doesn't matter that it came easy to you and it didn't come easy to someone else. I have three boys. One of my sons, stuff just comes easy for him. He moves through it, no problem. And the other two, they have the areas that they do well in and it's easy for them, but it's not across the board like my one son. Personal experience. When I started this position at Prairie View, I sat in a room with amazing people like Miss George and Mr. Cooper and some of my other colleagues. And I was like, ooh, wow. They went and got stuff that I didn't go get. And they do things this way and they talk that way. And I felt like I didn't belong in the room. I was faking it and they were going to see, like you said, they were going to see who I was sooner or later. And I wasn't going to add up. And I actually had a conversation with Miss George and I told her that's how I was feeling. And she looked at me and she said, Michelle, that's ridiculous. Look at the experience you have. Look at what you've done. Look at the things that you've already proven in this arena. Because I actually come from a higher ed background in career services. And some of our other coaches have been doing it in corporate America and in other environments. And so it was like, okay. And so I had to be reminded it doesn't matter what everybody else around me can do and how they got to what they can do. It matters that do I feel like I can do the job? Whether I got here easily or whether I got here with hard work, do I feel like I can do the job? Do I feel like if I don't know how to do it right now, I'm capable and I'm willing to learn it so that I can do whatever it is I need to do? That's all it's about. It's knowing who you are and what you need to make sure you're doing the best job that you can do. And it doesn't matter about who's around you. My competition is 99.9% with myself. How well did I do it today? Doesn't matter to me because tomorrow I needed to do better than I did it yesterday, and then better than yesterday, then better than yesterday. So I'm consistently making sure I am putting in the effort to reevaluate and see how can I get better.
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
want
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
want to add one.
Before you add, Mr. Cooper, I want to ask Natalie. Natalie, how can you now reframe that thought to support your growth? How can you reframe that thought? I want you to think about that, and I'm gonna let Mr. Cooper make his comment. But how can you now, hearing everything that we've said, how can you now reframe that thinking to support you in your growth? Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
I just wanted to add two things that came to my mind very, very quickly. And first, this is directly to Natalie. sometimes when you look at your peers, they could be misaligned with the job or the role or even the manager. So they may exemplify some type of struggle. In addition to that, you may very well have a very strong intuition about choices. PV could have been a great alignment for you. Your inner spirit told you was the place to go, and you made the decision. Whereas other people might have been told, other universities have been told PV is the place, and they go somewhere else, and they don't understand why they're struggling. You may have very good intuition, as well as that intuition helping you to align with things that just flow and just doors open and processes. So
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. So, Natalie, you received a lot of wisdom, perspective um, on imposter syndrome, and one in perspective and wisdom that can support you. What I want you to do now is make it your own and think about how you can reframe that thinking to support your own growth moving forward.
And we're here
And
for you.
yeah, and we are here for you. So as you all, the rest of you are sitting in on the conversation and listening. What I have on the screen is your career coaches. These are conversations that you can bring to coaching. These are conversations that needs to be brought to coaching. How do we support your growth? How do we hold space for you to grow personally and professionally? Because, while we're talking about the context of internships, this also impacts your personal life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so here are your coaches listed here. There will be some changes and with some of these with only just one. So if you're in nursing, for example, your coach might be different, but you can email Miss Michelle Jones. She'll tell you, about that change. But for the rest of you, reach out to your coaches, right? As you're thinking about what's next for you, right? Going from student to professional. And these are real challenges that Miss Nally have brought up. Have these conversations with your coaches as well. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments, feedback? You have a worksheet that Ms. Michelle will drop in the chat. And the first question on that worksheet is around taking 3 words to, now that we've had, we're going to start it here in the chat, but taking 3 words to describe how you want to be described or how you describe your personal brand. We've had a discussion about what that is. How do you want to be described? How do you want to be perceived? What are the 3 words you want people to use, right? Put it in the chat for me. What are your 3 words? Natural, unique, home. Alexander, I have to elaborate on home for me. Thank you for the comment. Caring, compassionate, advocate. Yes. Who else am I hearing from? Patient, nice, kind. Thank you, Audrey. Donovan, communicative, disciplined, selfless. Qualified, sponge-like, grit portraying. Yes, Natalie, come on. Dornesia says, oh, I missed it. Y'all going so fast. Y'all coming in. The comments are coming in.
Dependable, dedicated, discipline was Denesia.
Okay, all right. Thank you,
Donicia.
Dornesia.
Jim said activist.
Activist. Come on, activist.
Emmanuel said positive, engaging, supportive.
Yes. See, y'all are already thinking about this. Yes. Now, as you think about this and you're going through the homework, Be intentional about now, how do you show up? Reflect in that. What does that look like in your day to day? Ambition and attentive, responsible. Oh, let's take that word responsible, for example, as you go deeper and think about what does that mean in your day to day? Being on time, setting your
Mm-hmm.
setting your clock to get up so you can do what you need to do so you can be on time, right? What else does that look like in your day to day, right? Well-rounded, authentic. All right, break down what well-rounded means. So now that you have these words, what does it mean in your day to day? Right? And some of these words you're going to have to really think about, what do they mean to you, for you, right? Like well-rounded, authentic. What does that mean for you? And then how do you show up in your day to day? How does it show up?
And are
Awesome.
these, I was going to say, are these words that you're choosing now, are these words that if we were to talk to your professors or talk to people on the job that you work with, or even some of your classmates, are these words that they would right now use about you? Because again, remember, personal branding, you can't tell me what your brand is. Because even though you may say this is what your brand is, if your actions, your how you carry yourself, your presence, what you say, how you dress, if those things don't align with how you what you're saying is your brand, then it doesn't matter, because that's not how you're going to be received or perceived.
what
I'm
you
sorry.
pro- what you produce as well. Because personal
Mm-hmm.
branding is not just who you are, it's about also about what you produce.
Mm-hmm.
What are you putting out there that also demonstrate how you want to be perceived,
Mm-hmm.
right? Kind, confident, and communicative. Well, as we close, what are some takeaways you're walking away with from this session? Put it in the chat. What are some of your takeaways? And as you think about what those takeaways are, we want you to scan the QR code to complete the survey in order to get credit for this seminar. And if I'm missing anything, Miss Michelle, please comment on that. But put in the chat, what are you walking away with? Your personal brand speaks to you before you even open your mouth. Awesome, awesome. Dressing for the job.
George, can I
Yes.
do a quick redress? Because I'm a little concerned about something. I want to make sure that we're talking about the professional work environment and the job, whether it's grad school or the job. And a lot of comments that I saw, which were great comments, they were compassion and things of that nature. But when I thought about the question, I thought in terms of personal branding in the context of the workplace. So, what do you want to be known for? I want to be known for having the answers, accurate information, accurate presentations, being contributory in the meetings, being proactive and always taking on extra responsibilities. Those are the attributes that will get you promoted. Okay, so when we talk about what are some of the things you want people to know within the context of the work environment, is the way that I was thinking. I'm not quite sure Ms. George might have been in general, but also when you go into the workplace or graduate or wherever you may be, think about that excellent question um, on Monday morning. How do you want them to perceive you, your managers and coworkers?
Yes. And thank you for that. So while we are thinking about, as I stated earlier, it's not just what you say, it's about what you produce, right? I said that earlier. And what you produce in the workplace is absolutely important. But if we are not clear about who we are, it doesn't matter what we produce. Because people are going to your colleagues are going to see right through that. It doesn't matter what we produce in terms of, we produce this, but then we show up in a way that's not in alignment with what we produce. They both have to go.
Mm-hmm.
They both have to go hand in hand, especially to combat imposter syndrome. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can produce all day, but if you're not clear about who you are, you will continue to battle imposter syndrome. You will be 48 combating imposter syndrome. So it's important for us to understand, yes, how do we want to be perceived? We want to be perceived as, responsible, getting the work done, being perceived as, you probably don't know you want to be perceived as being a good presenter right now, but I'm going to use that as an example, right? But
Mm-hmm.
someone that's, strategic, that thinks about the work, someone that's thoughtful about the work, right? However, whatever words you want to use. But no, it's about showing up with intention, regardless if it's at work or outside of work, right? You want, because that's what people want, right? All right, let me see any other, for some reason I can't. Y'all have some good thoughts how you should display yourself and prepare. First impressions can be lasting. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those takeaways. I'm gonna now hand it over to Bill, so we can continue the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Ms. George. Mr. Cooper, did you have any comments you want to wrap up with?
Thank you.
Looks like you might be frozen. Okay.
Who,
So thank you guys.
me?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, was I frozen?
Yeah, you were frozen. I was asking, did you have any other comments you wanted to as we close out that you wanted to add?
Oh, I'm so, I said I think it was an excellent presentation. I really have nothing specific to add. I thought it was a great discussion.
Thank you for that. All right. So just so again to be reminded, check-in should have occurred. I put the code in there. We had the QR code up for a while. I put the link in there repetitively as people were coming in. I've got the survey link in there as well as you see the survey on the screen. Guys, this information really does help us help you. We are not here to drive home what we think you ought to have. Obviously, we've been in the workforce for a while. We know what we know, but it's not about what we know. It's about what do you need from us. So we want to make sure that you all are telling us, hey, I love that, but can you give us this? Nobody mentioned this, so can we have this? So help us to help you. Take a moment, do the survey, take a moment, do the reflection questionnaire. And this just helps us to build a better program for you as our students, especially returning back to campus, as well as for any students coming behind you. Remember, we are shoulders that someone stands on. So go ahead and help us to set up the best type of professional development and programming from a careers and professional development standpoint that we can. Session on Monday, June 9th at 6 p.m. That is our new week, and that's going to be on mastering the basics of communication, which is a very, very important part of the professional world. We tend to be very comfortable. We're in this world of texting, and sometimes our conversation comes out more of a casual texting than it should from a professional perspective. Emails, we're covering all of those types of conversations. So please join us on Monday. If you'll get those weekly reflections questionnaires in by Sunday at noon, that way we can compile any questions or concerns that we can address through the week. If you have any questions, please feel free to remain on for the next few minutes, and I'll try to address those. And if some of the career coaches are here, they may be able to address as well. If you did not see your career coach, email me. I will send you that information. But thank you all. Happy Saturday. Go get some sun if where sun is, and enjoy your time today. Bye-bye.
As Miss Jones, I do have a question.
Okay.
Two, actually. So the weekly reflection questionnaire is
Mhm.
that so once we get one questionnaire for this week, that reflects to the previous week, right?
Correct. So what I
So
sent you Friday is for last week.
for
It's
for
for the
week
week
one,
you just ended Friday.
okay,
Yes, week one.
okay. And the second question is that, on this survey that we had today, it asked
Hmm.
us which session did we attend. So this is
Hmm.
basically still week one, right? But week one is not one option in there. So it's only from week two to week 10. So,
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's
so
see, Miss Jones.
what I did was I click order and I put week one. So
Thank you. I was gonna
yeah.
say thank you for that. Yeah. I got ahead of myself updating for next week. So
Okay. Well, thank you again, Miss Jones, Mr.
thanks, Qua.
Cooper, and
Have you
Miss George for an informative session that we had, and we learned a lot, and hopefully we can apply it in our
yeah,
workplace.
of course. Now, Qua, have you started your internship
Yeah, I just started this
on Monday?
Monday. Yeah,
Okay. How's it
yeah,
going? You feeling good?
yeah. It's been good so far. I met beautiful people, co-workers, and got to enjoy a lot of sun. I'm in New Mexico right now, and uh, later on today we're supposed to go hiking. So
Oh,
let's see how
nice.
it goes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
it's
good, good, good.
yeah. They say we usually compare the heat between Houston and New Mexico, but I'm enjoying the breeze so far with less humidity. So
Yes,
I don't know how
yes.
long along the way during the end of the summer how hot it will be, but so far so good. And it's
Okay.
good.
All right.
It's good. I see some of the faces of PV people on
Mhm.
my workplace.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Miss Sophia and Mr. Sanders. Yeah,
Okay.
so nice.
All right. Well, I'm excited for you. I look forward to hearing how it's going in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, I'm excited
All right.
too. Well,
All
thank you,
right. Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
For those of you hanging back, do you have specific questions?
I think everybody's gone now.
Oh, they just left. Uh,
Hmm. I'm
is
just
that
trying to
your
get my Read AI out of there.
um one suggestion I have is for you make the presenter a co-host.
Remember why we didn't? Because you can't see the poll. Was that only because you only had the one screen at the time?
The presenter don't need to see the poll though. I don't think.
Well, when we went through it and then we was practicing and you said, I don't see it. And I can't, because you can't talk about the responses if you don't see it. I mean, it's up to you. I don't mind making it, but I thought that was the issue.
Hmm. I have to think through that one.
Let me make you co-host right now. And now let me pull up the poll.
Evans is here, so he can help us.
Station Michelle.
You see the poll in?
No.
How about
Ye-
now?
yes.
Okay, so then, all right, so then that works.
Hmm.
But are you on two screens or just one?
It popped up on one screen, but
Uh-huh.
I do have two monitors.
Hooked to the presentation?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'm wondering if you have two monitors, it will come up on one of the monitors. But
The
if you
other
only have
reason
one,
why you probably want a co-host because if I don't think this will happen, but if your internet go down for whatever reason, it
mhm.
drops the entire call.
Yeah, that
And,
would be a good one for sure.
yeah, if you have a co-host, then the co-host can continue, you know,
Mm-hmm. And I know when I was talking, I was looking at my notes from another page, and there were a lot of people waiting in the waiting room when I came back. So, yeah, we had said we weren't going to do it because of that, but now that whatever was going on then, evidently it's not an issue, so we will be able to move forward.